Are you guys ready to get into the material that you flew all the way out here to receive? No? Okay. Are you ready to dive into the material, guys? Yeah. Awesome. All right, so this next speaker is going to be delivering a really, really powerful talk to you guys, because whenever Jordan asked the question of like, why are you here? You want more patients? You want more time? You want to scale? All the hands in the room pretty much went up, and this presentation is going to provide that clarity that you're probably seeking, because right now it might be a little bit of a blur. You don't know what's that next step, what's the move, what does the path look like. This next talk we're diving into is going to create that clarity for you. The speaker that's going to deliver this talk was actually a client of Clinical Marketer a little over 2 years ago. He came into the program at $20,000 per month in his practice. Fast forward to the current moment, he's at $180,000 per month in 3 practices with a team of 10. Does that sound like something you guys might want?
Let's go. Yeah.
Right? Does that sound like it's something that you might want to learn the lessons from and what to avoid and what to really do?
Yep.
Yes? All right. Well, this speaker is a farm boy at heart. He gave me a really good run for my money last night at bocce ball, but I still beat him. He's from Des Moines, Iowa. He's going to be teaching you guys how to go from physio to CEO and how to scale your revenue without scaling your workload. So if you're excited for that, I would love to see you on your feet, hands together, show some energy for Ben Boggy!
What's up, guys? How's everybody doing? Missed my walkout music. But anyways, no, I just want to echo what Jordan said earlier. Like, it's awesome to see everybody here, and it's a hell of a lot better than over Zoom. So I appreciate you guys making the trip out here. So let's have a lot of fun this weekend. But we're gonna learn a lot too. But yeah, just make sure we're gonna have fun too. Okay. So, anyways, we'll dive right in. So what I want to start out by saying is, a lot of times when you go to scale, you don't necessarily have to increase your workload. Okay? So a lot of times people think that, oh, if I want to grow and scale, like, I need to work even harder. That's not necessarily the case. Okay? So things can change really fast for you guys. And I think a lot of you guys may be sitting in this room thinking that the goals that you guys have are like 5 or 10 years away. The reality is that a lot of these goals that you guys have can be accomplished in less than 12 months. Okay? So Jordan talked a lot about changing your guys' mindsets and realizing what you guys can actually accomplish in a fraction of that time. Okay? So I want you guys to also change your mindset and your belief for this weekend that $100,000 months are normal. Okay? So when Jordan, Max, and I joined a mastermind when I was doing about $75,000 per month in ProKinetics, my physical therapy practice. And we joined this mastermind, and these people that were in this mastermind were doing $200,000 and $300,000 per month. Okay? And $100,000 months was actually an emergency. So it was being able to get around that proximity that allowed me to really change my mindset and realize how realistic $100,000 months were, and $200,000 and $300,000 as well. Okay? So in this presentation, I want to specifically show you guys how to go to do $30,000 to $100,000 per month, and we're actually work less than you guys do now. So as I've grown and scaled ProKinetics, when I was joined Clinical Marketer, I was doing about $20,000 per month, and I was working like 60, 80 hours a week. And I did who's heard of the hit by the bus test? Okay, so hit by the bus test is essentially where you remove yourself and pretend that you got hit by the bus and see how your business would do. Like, how would it do without you? And so I did this exercise for an entire month, 2 months ago. And on average, I only had to work less than 5 hours per week throughout that time. And that's because of systems and processes that I'm going to kind of highlight today as well. Okay? So we've now helped 100 plus clients do $10,000 months. And we've also had 47 clients make over $30,000 per month as well. Okay? So this presentation is not what to do, okay, but it's rather how to think. So VAs know what to do and make $6 per hour. You as a CEO need to learn how to think so you can make thousands of dollars per hour. And that's the power of knowing what to think. Okay, so I want to go back to adopting this thought that $100,000 months are normal. So if you guys, there's a lot of power in reverse engineering things. Okay, so it makes it a lot more digestible. So what I did is when I was trying to figure out how do I get to $100,000 months, I reverse engineered it, and it made it a lot more digestible. So let's do that. So if you have a 10K offer, that's only 10 clients per month, new clients that you have to get. With a 5K offer, you'll need 20 clients per month, okay? And then with a 3K offer, you need 33 clients per month. So this last week, I checked in with John, who does all of our sales across our locations, all 3 locations, and we got 25 new clients. So that tells me that we are well on our pace to hitting that $200,000 a month that we have a goal of hitting in the next 3 months, okay? Okay, so I want to really drive this point home, that $100,000 months is not more work, okay? It is more leverage. So that's what this presentation is about, is how to acquire that leverage, okay? So a lot of people have questions like, what does the path look like since you've opened ProKinetics with regards to revenue? So I started my practice in November 2018, and we've consistently grown year after year at a 200% clip, okay? So in the first year, I was doing 130,000, and this was where a lot of you guys might be at right now, where you are doing all the groundwork. You're doing all the workshops, you're doing all the sales, you're doing all the marketing, you're doing all the patient care, you're literally doing everything. And this is where I was at. And so it was a really stressful time, okay? But then I discovered leverage, as I spoke about earlier, okay? And we did 500K in year 2, okay? And in September 2019 is when I hired help. This was when I hired on a business coach that allowed me to really grow and scale and acquire that leverage. And 2 magical things happened when I did that. So it put my back against the wall. And the thing is, I really didn't have a choice to move forward with this mastermind because I was close to being burnt out. You know, like I left a traveling job that I was already burnt out at just to really create a job for myself that I was just equally as stressed to earn the same amount, okay? And so I had to figure out what to do with regards to, do I just keep up working 60, 80 hours to, you know, generate $130,000 per year, or how do I escape this rat race that I kind of created for myself, the job that I created for myself? So when I joined this mastermind, another thing that helped me was it allowed me to get around other people that were doing bigger things than myself, okay? And work with other people that had the results that I wanted to have, okay? So I want to highlight what happened after I joined that mastermind, because things got fun in 2020. So you guys can see in November, you can see in August, it was like around $20,000 per month. And then I hired on that PT in November of 2019. And we automatically got up to that $30,000 mark. And then you guys know Q4 is kind of tough. You know, you've got a lot of holidays in there. And so we took a big hit in December. Well, not a big hit, but we didn't see that growth. But then in January 2020, when we really started ramping up this PT that I hired on, we were able to not just break a record of trying to hit 30K, but we were actually able to also hit our first month at 40K as well. All right, so I want to highlight and make sure that you guys also see the red. Okay, I want you guys to try and, I'm going to give you some time as I go through this next slide to try and figure out what happened in July of 2020. Okay, it wasn't COVID. I'll give you guys that hint. Okay, all right, so think about that and I'll come back to it in just a second. So I want to show you guys there's 3 types of leverage, okay, that allows people to scale very rapidly. And those are 1, people, 2, processes, and 3, profit. All right, I'll break down each of these for you guys so you can figure out how to implement these things into your practice as well. Okay, so I had kind of an aha moment, and it was realizing, you know, how little, you know, I can accomplish on my own. And I used to have the mindset of thinking, like, how can I solve this? Instead of thinking, who can solve this? Okay, and this goes back to leverage. I was thinking that I had to do everything. But then I started thinking, hey, we've got this problem. Who can solve this problem? So there's two types of people that are needed. There's mentors, and there's also delegators, okay, or staff. And in December of 2019, it was mentors that gave me what we ultimately needed. Okay? So I want to go back to July of 2020. Who wants to guess on what happened or why there was a dip?
You lost a PT.
Good answer, but not that.
Say, did you step away from treatment?
Yes, to a certain extent. So I didn't take a vacation. This is the first time that I took a vacation, and my practice was July of 2020. Okay, so almost 2 years without taking vacation. But I did have an employee, but he was already full. And so I went on vacation, and so I was no longer doing the sales calls because I didn't have an admin at the time. So I was no longer doing sales. So no patients were coming in, even though we had leads. I wasn't able to call them, right? Because I was on vacation. And I was still somewhat treating at that time. I was still seeing about 20 patients a week. So yes, there was revenue that was being generated by the other PT, but I was still heavily involved with patient care. So when I took a step back and went on that vacation, we still took a big hit in revenue because my time was still tied to money to a certain extent. To a lesser degree because I had that employee, but it was still tied to it. Okay? So that's when I really realized that I needed to continue to work my way out of patient care and bring on more A players. And I realized that you can go fast alone, but you can go further together. And you can go fast by yourself because you don't have to okay things or teach somebody how to do it. But you're only going to be able to get so far by doing that method. Okay? At the end of the day, nobody's going to care about your business as much as you do. Okay? That is true to a certain extent. Okay? But you can go so much further with a team. So the team that you guys need to scale comes down to sales, marketing, and then operations or patient success or client success. So there's also something to be said about scaling stress-free as well. Okay, so to be able to scale stress-free, it requires a standardization of your processes that are soundproof. Okay, because the people that you employ are only as good as the processes that you plug them into. So if you have really great people, but you don't have your processes, it doesn't mean a whole lot because they don't know what processes to follow. They're kind of just winging it, essentially. And then on the flip side, you can have the best processes, but if you don't have the right people, those processes don't mean much either. Okay? So how do you go about being able to build out processes? So you need SOPs and KPIs. Who wants to define SOPs for me?
Standard operating procedures.
Right. Dive deeper into that.
Figure out a way that if someone were to come on and just read a manual, they could probably just figure out what you do.
Yep.
How to do it.
That's a good way to put it. Yep. So simply put, what to do. In the most simplest forms, it is what to do. Okay. So what are KPIs?
Key performance indicators.
Okay. Deeper onto that.
They basically are indicators that tell you the health of your business and whether you're heading in the right or wrong direction.
Right. Exactly. Yep. So SOP is also, in other words, how are they doing? Or how are you doing in your practice? Okay? So each role is defined and each task is defined by an SOP. So think about everything that you guys do in a fun exercise that I challenge you guys to do and homework when you guys go back next week in your practice is jot down every single thing that you do in your practice. And then one by one, start building out those processes and documenting. It can be simple as just pulling up a Google Doc. Pull up a Google Doc, list everything out, and then create video trainings on how you carry that out. That is literally what ProKinetics processes and systems are. Just simply a Google Drive. So now when an employee is onboarding, they just simply go through this checklist. And it's hyperlinked to it's hyperlinked to a video. And then they go through it. So it allows me to bring on an employee and essentially only train them for an hour. I have them go through all these trainings, and then the week before that they start, I sit down with them one-on-one on a Zoom call, and I encourage them to write down questions that they had, that they go through that, and they're onboarded after that hour. Okay, that's because the systems and processes are built out. So what about KPIs? So each department and staff member within the department has a scorecard that we monitor on a monthly basis. You can do some of these on a weekly basis. There are some processes that we do on a weekly basis, but I encourage you guys to start just on a monthly basis. It's gonna be a lot more digestible for you guys, and then as you guys get more comfortable with monthly, you can start looking at things on a weekly basis as well. So marketing KPIs. So marketing KPIs could look like what's your opt-in rate on your website? You know, how many people are visiting your website, and then what percentage of those people are opting in? It can be Facebook ads. What's your landing page conversion rate? Okay? What's your click-through rate? All that fun stuff. And then it could also be, what do my workshop conversions look like? You know, how many people on average are attending my workshop? And then of those people that attend, how many of them are opting in for a visit? Okay? And then there's also sales KPIs. So this could be, what's my phone conversion rate? And then further, you can break that down into, for Facebook ads, what's my conversion rate on the phone? And then also you can break it down into referrals. What's my conversion rate for referrals? What's my conversion rate for website opt-ins? So you can break down where's your weak points, but then also bring those all together so you can see what your overall conversion rate is on your phone, okay, on that phone call. And then from there, what's the next step after somebody agrees that the phone call went well? They're gonna come in for a visit, right? Okay, so we need to look at what is our conversion rate when somebody comes in for initial evaluation. How many people are actually coming in? Okay, and then the next one is client success. How well are we doing with taking care of the patients that are coming in through our doors? So client success KPIs can be, how many referrals are the PTs or my staff generating? Okay, what the PTs are responsible for gaining is 3 referrals per month is what they're held to. This helps us with our SEO. This helps us be able to track way more clients to our website, which opt in as well. Then we also have NPS scores. Anybody know what NPS stands for? Yes, Net Promoter Score. So essentially, we have our clients, and I encourage you guys to do this too. This is something that's pretty easy to implement. We have 3 different steps where we see people drop off most commonly. And that is after the first visit, midway through the visit, and then at the end, how often are those converting into continuity programs or medical fitness coaching on the back end. So by looking at these Net Promoter Scores, we're able to tell where are we dropping the ball at. So Net Promoter Score is essentially just asking them on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to recommend us to a friend? Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10. And so you can look at each of these areas to see where you might be dropping the ball. Okay, so this is a big client success metric that we look at. So to tie it all together, you know, how do you know whether or not you're winning if you're not keeping score? Right? So, third leverage point is profit. Okay, at the end of the day, profit is your personal leverage, and your life is funded by profit. It's not funded by revenue. Okay, because the harsh reality is that, yeah, somebody might be doing $1 million per year, but you know, there's so many business owners that, yeah, might be doing $1 million per year, but you know, they're overpaying in patient acquisition, they're overpaying in scale, scaling patient acquisition, building a team, and then a year passes and they have $950,000 in expenses. They got a profit of $50,000. I would challenge that. That is actually, I'd rather make $100,000 a year in gross revenue and have a profit of 50. It's a lot less headaches. A lot less headaches, promise you that. If you scale to $1 million per year, you've got staff. You've got a lot of other people that are relying on you and a lot more people that need to uphold their end of the bargain and do a good job to be able to hit that mark. It's a lot less room for error versus if it's just you and you're generating 100,000 and you have 50,000 profit. It's a lot better place to be, right? But that's a poor scenario, right? We don't want to necessarily be at either of those, but just want to reiterate that sometimes overall revenue is kind of a vanity number. Ask people what's their profit, okay? Because that's, at the end of the day, that's what we're in business for. And that's what keeps a business alive is the profit. So my vision for you guys is to be able to look at your revenue and be able to instantly determine how much to pay yourself, what's my budget for new hires, how much can I or should I be paying my employees, how much should I be paying sales or my front desk or admin team, and be able to hit the exact profit margin that you guys want to hit in your practice. How's that sound?
Amazing.
Right? Okay? There's a lot of power in having that clarity. A lot of peace of mind. Be able to sleep a lot better at night, I promise you that too. Okay? So this is something that we have in our mastermind that it's called our perfect P&L. So essentially it allows you to plug in your revenue that you're generating or choose or are aiming to generate, and it will spit out a number of how much you should be spending in ads, how much you should be spending in fulfillment or labor, how much you should be paying for rent or fixed overhead, and then also variable overhead would be like software. Okay, so like EMR, CM Hub, stuff like that. And then how much you should be saving for taxes, and then ultimately what you should be paying yourself, and then also profit. Okay? So again, it just allows, when you have this clarity, it allows you to, yes, be able to sleep better at night, but it also allows you to be able to know when is it the right time to scale and be able to make objective decisions on where you want your business to go. Because again, if you're not keeping score, you don't know, one, if you're winning, and two, you don't know where to go from there. Because if you don't have the data and the numbers, you're kind of just flying by the seat of your pants, is what it comes down to. Okay? And that's a stressful place to be when you're making business decisions that impact your livelihood. Okay? So how many of you would you guys like help with implementing these 3 leverage points into your business? Did I give you guys a lot of clarity? Okay? So I challenge you guys to, one, homework for you guys is the mindset, and especially throughout this weekend, is that $100,000 months is normal. First and foremost. And then 2 is start tracking some of these KPIs. Don't get overwhelmed with thinking that you have to track 10 or 20 KPIs. Just honestly start out with 3. Okay? 3 that I would probably start out with that are most important, and what we track most closely is our phone call conversion rate. How many leads are we actually taking care of to get in the door? And then 2, what is our average visit per plan of care? So for the people that do come in for initial evaluation, how many visits are they doing on average? Okay? And then 3 is it's up to you guys on what one is most important to you guys, but we also look how many people are going into our continuity program on the back end. And another big one, because of the practice that I have, we are heavily reliant on people finding us. We rank really high on Google, and so we want to keep maintaining that position. So we place a big emphasis on the Google reviews that we collect month over month. So that is the other KPI that we track very closely. Okay, so just start out with 3. And everybody's business is a little bit different. You always don't have to use those 3 or 4 that I just gave you, but that's a starting point. So again, don't get overwhelmed thinking you have to track all this stuff, because if you're overwhelmed, you're not even gonna start tracking 1. So just start out with 3, and then get comfortable tracking those 3 things. And then as you get comfortable doing those consistently month over month, then you can start adding 1 more the next month, 1 more after that, 1 more after that, okay? Because you can also get too much data as well, okay? So anyways, that's my homework for you guys, is mindset on that, and then start tracking some of these KPIs, all right? So we've got some time for Q&A.
We have 10 minutes.
Sweet, we got 10 minutes. So we'll open up for Q&A. And again, the Q&A is for all these presentations, not just this one. Always keep it pertained to the presentation that was just given, all right? So who wants to start us off?
You guys,
We'll get you a mic.
Sorry. So for ProKinetics, do you guys have like a day of the week that you guys kind of go over everything, like track those KPIs, or is it something that's like an automated system already?
Yep. So we have a leadership meeting every single week. Okay. So this is my front desk. Sorry, this is my general manager, and then this is our sales guy, and myself. So us 3, we meet on a weekly basis and go over these metrics and these data. Right. I just talked to you guys about how I messaged John earlier this morning to see what we're sitting at for a number of new patients. I'll check in with him again later today if I have time. So that's why I checked in with him this morning. But usually at the end of the day, every Friday, I check in with him individually to see how we did with new patients and also what his conversion rate was. And that's the thing too, is by having these standards and these KPIs, it holds them accountable. They know what to aim for, and they know that they're dropping the ball if they don't hit these. Right? So it helps with that accountability. So to answer your question, the leadership team meets weekly. I do check in with them individually at the end of the week as well. And then we meet as an entire team on a monthly basis. Okay, so we discuss, our monthly team meetings look like where we share individual wins. Right? That's the thing too, is one thing that I really love about growing ProKinetics and building a team is being able to support other people, not just professionally, but personally as well. So we kick off by talking about individual wins. And then we go over data, the KPIs, and also everybody knows everybody else's data. So I show exactly every PT has their own conversion rate, and it's shown on the same slide with everybody else. So they know that they might get exposed if they don't hold their end of the bargain, right? And hit what they should be, okay? Because it's a team effort. We have our team goals on our KPIs, and so somebody doesn't want to let the entire team down. That's kind of how that goes. So to answer the question, leadership team weekly, and then as a team monthly to go over those things. No. Yep, good question.
I saw that you built the calculator with the different percentages and stuff like that. How do you determine the percentages to go into like Facebook ads and to like the fixed income and stuff?
Good question. So over the last year, I've been working with a CFO team that breaks down, they work with some of the most profitable businesses with regards to like healthcare and then also online. And so they've got a big pool of data on what are the most healthy and successful businesses in this space and what are they doing, what are they allocating to it. So they pull that data, and that's what we've been able to pull and extract from that and find out this is where we need to be at. And that's the thing too, these percentages can fluctuate to a certain extent when you go to scale. So to scale, you might, let's say that the perfect P&L says that you should be spending 10% on Facebook ads or advertising. But when you go to scale, you might need to increase that to 15%. And that's okay. Your profit might take a little bit of a hit, but that's okay because you're scaling. Okay, and at the end of the day, your take home is gonna be bigger or more because of it. So it does depend a little bit, and we actually have a presentation on this, I believe it's tomorrow, on this exact concept. But essentially, it does fluctuate a little bit depending in what cycle or phase of business that you're in. Are you just trying to get to this perfect P&L? Because that's the thing too, is you might not be at these ideal metrics. So you're trying to kind of manipulate it to get to a healthy spot. Then when you get to a healthy spot, now you can start allocating more towards client acquisition or patient acquisition, which would look unhealthy, but you're in your scaling phase, so it's okay. And then you get there, and then you bring the numbers back up where they need to be. Okay, this is just a stepping stone. Does that make sense? Good question. Logan in the back.
Say like, okay, as long as I train this person to do exactly what I'm doing, now I can assume that that's going to double and I would be ready to hire that person.
Yep, exactly. So that's the power too of making sure that you are doing what you need to be doing and hitting the metrics that you need to be hitting, because it's not fair for you not to be able to do it, but then have somebody else come in and expect them to do it, to do a better job than you, right? So there is a lot of power in, this is why tracking KPIs, even at the very beginning stages of the business, are important, because when you grow and scale, you need to know what you should be holding people accountable for, right? So that's, again, another power of tracking that I didn't mention on here, is to be able to hold and know what standards and metrics you should be holding your staff to. So absolutely. Good question, Logan.
Michelle Morning from Phoenix. Question for you just on your team culture and your meetings. How do you keep when you're sharing everybody's numbers, have the culture be that you're not just a number cruncher and pushing them? Do you have an incentive for employees to hit a certain amount, or how do you structure that culture?
Yep, so good question. So that's the big thing too, is one of the things that brings is ProKinetics that kind of makes the employees that I hire on and core values that we have is competition. Everybody's very competitive that I bring on. And so there's multiple employees that literally they just are so competitive that they hold themselves to a high standard and they want to hit this, right? So partly it goes into, that's what our core belief is around. One of our core beliefs is competition, right? In a good way, healthy competition. And so by having that core value when you bring somebody on, it helps with that as well. Okay, but there is a balance. And actually Jordan has a great presentation, I think it might be tomorrow as well, on building team culture. And so he'll talk about that, because it is a balance, right? You don't want to expose somebody where they're not hitting their metrics and then they feel really embarrassed and whatnot too. So a lot of times if there is something that's really out of whack, I'll have a conversation with that person first and talk to them. And then also a lot of times, honestly, there hasn't been very many times where somebody's just like really underperformed, like almost embarrassing. I've never had that. So, but if that did happen, I'd probably have a conversation with them before and then discuss and rationalize like, hey, this is what's going on, stuff like that. So I haven't had to deal with it where it's like so embarrassing that it was kind of awkward to talk about. But there have been people that underperform. You know, like let's say that their conversion rate was 85% and we want to hit 90. We know that that fluctuates and whatnot too. So I really don't even bring that out. But I look at their average over the course of 6 months or a year when I do their performance review. But everybody does fluctuate, and everybody on the team knows that hey, just because somebody was below doesn't mean that they're slacking, right? Because just last month they're at 95, right? So our average is what we're looking for is 90% conversion rate. So again, everybody knows that it fluctuates month to month, and so that we kind of take it with a grain of salt too, as well. But we look at it over on a longer term basis with that, especially because like sometimes PTs only have like 3 evals, and then another, like the new PT we brought on had 20 for the month, right? Well, if you don't convert on one person, you're at 66%, right? And so people can realize and analyze that data too. So I kind of highlight that. So, but good question. Does that make sense? Yep, good question. One more question.
Nate Reprisal from the Minneapolis area. For those KPIs, are you mainly running reports from your EMR? I mean, obviously not the Google reviews, but is that how
Yep.
you're tracking?
Yep. A lot of the KPIs we pull from are from our EMR. It makes it a hell of a lot easier, and that is a big piece of why I went with the EMR that I did, which was PT Everywhere, because the reports that you can generate in it are amazing, and it saves me so much time as well. So that's another thing too. That's a great point. Is make sure you guys have a good system to calculate these KPIs, because it can be really time intensive if you don't. So make sure that you're systematizing your KPIs as well, okay? Because that's a process. That's in your business as well. Okay? And that's actually one that I just built out in the last year that our general manager now goes in and creates. So I literally just pulled up Zoom, or Loom video, hit record, and walk them through how I calculate it. So now I don't even have to calculate our KPIs anymore. I built out the processes and systems, and so when I go to sell ProKinetics, all our systems and processes are built out and good to go. Okay? Sweet. All right, guys.
Okay, we're going over some of this a little bit more in depth Sunday.
Yep, so Luke's gonna tackle the KPIs a lot more in depth with things too. So, awesome. All right, appreciate you guys.